Are you ready to go absolutely feral? Hello, my wonderful viewers, and welcome to another episode of Betty Adams Overanalyzes. Today, we are going to take a fully spoilery look at Kaiju number 8, chapter 110. Why doesn't Mina Ashiro have a numbered weapon? That question has kind of been scratching at the back of my mind since the numbered weapons were revealed. Jin has number 1, Kokoru has number 4, every officer is tested for compatibility, and of the 8 numbered weapons available to the Defense Force, Mina matched with none of them, despite her explicitly stated ability being able to draw fantastic levels of energy from massive amounts of kaiju tissues. So she's generally compatible, but not specifically compatible. Now, obviously, in universe, the explanation is that numbered weapons compatibility is profoundly rare. There are only 8 numbered weapons compared to hundreds of Kaiju Defense Force officers, and of those, there's only 3 of them that are in general compatible with more than one person at a time. And despite Mina's general compatibility with kaiju fibers, she simply wasn't compatible with any of the numbered weapons, which makes sense. Moreover, the fact that even without a numbered weapon, she can field the power of a World War II battleship means that there was never any real incentive for the Defense Force to find numbered weapons she was compatible with. But what is the story reason that Matsumoto didn't give Mina Ashiro a numbered weapon? That was revealed in this chapter, but it was only one of many fascinating plot developments, and we are going to jump right into the spoilers now. So I'm going to give you a chance to click away by telling you to go take a look at the links below the video to get yourself a copy of my book, Humans Are Weird, I Have the Data. Once the glamour of first contact with aliens wears off, what will it be like for the little green friends who have to deal with us? A collection of short, absurd science fiction stories. We are absolutely going to circle back to that question. Why didn't Matsumoto give Mina Ashiro a numbered weapon, despite giving her the greatest capacity to use kaiju fibers of any Defense Force officer, making her essentially the greatest jack of all trades and master of none? But first, I want to focus on the biggest plot twist that Matsumoto has managed to pull off in over 100 chapters of brilliant corkscrew plot twists. What is a corkscrew plot twist, you ask? Well, this is, at heart, a Shonen Jump manga, battle manga. Some might say that it is the Shonen Jump battle manga. Kafka has a personality that is a blend of Goku and Gohan. The numbered weapons work like demon fruit. The series has been repeatedly described as Attack on Tokyo Chainsaw Man, etc. and so on. This is a shonen battle manga, and that means that there are rules that the creator has to follow. The main cast has plot armor. There will be multiple tourney arcs. The real power will end up being the friendship that they found along the way. Hard work and determination will pay off in fantastic results. You see, Shonen Jump as an entity works. It appeals to its core audience of 12-year-old boys, and those of us with an eternal 12-year-old boy inside, by following these rules. You would think that these rigid rules would mean that originality would suffer, but true originality shines when a creator is not actually trying for it, when the creator is just following the rules. You have heard the C.S. Lewis quote before, and you will hear it again. In literature and art, no man who bothers about originality will ever be original. Whereas, if you simply try to tell the truth without caring 2 pence how often it has been told before, you will, 9 times out of 10, become original without ever having noticed it. That is what Matsumoto has done. He tells the truth, i.e., his characters are well written and behave like real people, and his story sticks as close to the laws of physics as giant kaiju will allow. He sticks to the rules of Shonen Jump, and it doesn't look like he's cared that much about being original. He has represented the world to us, using Mr. Rogers' lenses, focusing on the helpers, and it is a good story, a wholesome story. And last of all, it is an original story, but that is last of all. Under these conditions, a true plot twist, something that will actually change the overall course of the story, is impossible. Kafka is going to win the day through a combination of grit, determination, and the power of friendship. So what Matsumoto does is he gives us a corkscrew plot twist. He carefully lays out 2 or 3 possible paths for the character to take. He seeds clues to the true path throughout the story, but uses careful focus and sleight of hand to make us focus on the false path that is laden with classic shonen tropes, 12-year-old humor, and strong emotions. We have known from Chapter 1 that the kaiju that started all this, the little dragonfly kaiju, who I like to call Little Guy, was intelligent enough to speak. We found out during the fight with Iso that Little Guy's individual awareness had survived the merger, separate from Kafka awareness. From the fight, the fandom has been talking about a fairly obvious thing that Kafka absolutely needed to do, but that up till this point hasn't been addressed. Kafka needed to make contact with that kaiju intelligence that was sharing his body. Kafka needed to commune with it if he was ever going to harness even a fraction of that full power that we saw in the fight with Iso. And we were so frustrated because Kafka clearly wasn't doing this painfully obvious thing that he needed to do. When Kafka thinks during the fight with number 9 that he had learned so much about kaiju number 8, the body, by having it taken over, we screamed at him that he deliberately needed to harness that learning potential. And I'm talking about the fight with number 9, where during the ant combat scene. When, after that, they lost Iso, Captain Jinrumi came to Kafka privately, away from any recording devices, which should have been a clue, and asked Kafka to risk everything for him. We thought in that moment Jin was just asking Kafka to keep fighting as he was. And at the end of that scene, when Jin took Kafka somewhere to do something mysterious, we wondered what and where. But it wasn't answered in the next chapter. We were puzzled at the time, but we moved on. When, during the fight with Director General Iso Shinomiya, Kafka was able to, even partially transformed, Kafka was able to sense the numbered kaiju through the numbered weapon, and the beast inside of him reacted to that with terror and a frantic attempt at self-preservation. We thought that was cool, but we didn't think about it beyond that. That was just something that happened in that fight, something that Kafka would have to be aware of from then on. If he faced a numbered weapon that the kaiju inside of him would detect as a daikaiju, the kaiju inside of him might take over. That was just a constant threat hanging over Kafka's head, and we saw it as nothing more than that sword of Damocles. When we saw Kafka training by running laps alone in the dark, depressed alone because the defense force wanted kaiju number 8 and not him, we made no connection between Jinrumi and that private secret conversation, the little guy's reaction to the daikaiju, and Kafka's depression. Even when Jinrumi's most annoying rival shows up and offers Kafka a way out of the path that he's currently on, we don't make that connection. When the Kaiju Defense Force scientists warned the officers that if Kafka kept transforming, he wouldn't be able to return to human form, we didn't question it, even though it was obviously odd. When had Kafka actually had a chance to transform? Once to defend Tachikawa Base, once during his fight with Iso, once during the fight where they lost Iso. That was it. 3 transformations that we see on screen between the time that the Defense Force scientists started to study him and when they gave that proclamation. There might have been more off-screen transformations, but we never saw them. We didn't question it when the story went out of its way to point out that Jinrumi had access to special power suit training rooms and had been using them so much that the technicians in charge of maintaining said rooms barely noticed when he was using them anymore, despite the fact that the entire base is seemed to shudder and shake. To shudder and shake in the way that we'd only seen it do before when a feral kaiju number 8 was going head-to-head with the Director General Iso Shinomiya's numbered weapon. In the moment, the excuse given for the base shaking was that Captain Narumi was in there with Officer Sheena Maya training weapons number 1 and number 4, which at the time struck me as odd. Weapon number 1 was an observational weapon. Training it should focus on practicing against unknown opponents, and weapon number 4 was a speed-based weapon, optimized for wide open spaces and open-air combat. Why would 2 lightweight speed fighters be shaking the base as hard as, if not harder, than 2 heavy brawlers like Kaiju number 2 and Kaiju number 8? It wasn't impossible that Jun and Kokoro wanted to simply practice power blows, of course, which is the conclusion I eventually came to, and then I shrugged and moved on. Now, in this chapter, the truth comes out. Kafka, with the help of Jin, did in fact come to the obvious conclusion that he needed to commune with the little guy to harness that power. In order to do that, Jin took Kafka down into the power suit's training room, activated number 1's aura, and pushed Kafka until little guy took over. Where this repeated transformation process was what allowed the scientists to determine the no changing back risks and what made Kafka depressed about them needing Kaiju number 8, not Kafka Haibino. All the clues were there. This course of action was obvious, blatant from chapter 38, and none of us saw it coming until now. Cheers, Matsumoto, cheers! Now, why didn't Matsumoto give Mina a numbered weapon? See, story-wise, that would have interfered with her ability to fight beside Kafka. Little Guy would have responded to Mina as an enemy, at best as a distraction from Kaiju number 9. But as it is, Kafka can stand by Mina's side, distracted, and can let Little Guy have its head, and use its greater knowledge of the shared body to pound Kaiju number 9 to pulp, without worrying about the Little Guy turning on Mina. 1 minute. Kafka has 1 minute of control before either Little Guy takes over or the battle is won. And during that 1 minute, he can't be worrying that his power is going to be turned on Mina. So, that is why Mina did not get a numbered weapon. But what do you think, my wonderful viewers? Did all those little moments make you sit up and take notice as they were released? Or did you just breeze over them? Tell me what you think in the comments below the video. Hit that like and subscribe button, and peace out, my wonderful viewers.
Drake McCarty's leg was shattered, deep in the wilderness. As the flash flood closed over him, something alien pulled him from the waters. A military base that shouldn't exist. An ancient warrior with secrets of his own. Drake returns to his family with a whole leg and the burden of a secret he doesn't understand. In the forest around them, someone is watching, and something followed him home. Flying Sparks. 90,000 words of science fantasy adventure. The first novel in the Dying Embers universe is now available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kobo by Rakuten, Google Play Books, and from the author as a signed copy. Get your copy now and step into a world where dragons walk the forest, aliens lurk on the mountain, and things go boomp in the night.
Escape into another world with the writings of author Betty Adams. 2 worlds, one of utter absurdity, one of dramatic tension, both alike in aliens absolutely astounded by human behavior. Humans are weird, short, absurd science fiction stories. Flying sparks, dragons, aliens, and things that go boomp in the night.
Books available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kobo by Rakuten, Google Play Books, and at authorBettyAdams.com for a signed copy.